I'm going to read another chapter from Fairy Tale Lies. If you've been following me on my social media, you'll see that I read chapter 1 and chapter 2. One was Greta, one was Jacob, and now this is when they first originally meet. I'm not going to do the whole chapter because it will be more than for one, it'll be more than 10 minutes, and I think that's as far as I can go on a lot of the social medias. And two, it gets a little spicy after they meet, and I don't want to get banned on any of the social media platforms. And to celebrate my last reading, and like I said, it's going to be the last reading because right now I'm doing a Valentine's Day ebook sale where it's like 75% off at like 99 cents. So I've been celebrating and focusing on this book all February. So let me get into that. Oh, and then I was wearing my earrings too that my friend had got me when this book first came out. Aren't they the coolest? She's an awesome friend. Anyway, let's get to it so I don't run out of time and at least get when they first meet. Let's see, that's on chapter 3. 2 months earlier, mid-morning. Greta twisted her key in the lock of the large oak double door to her mother and stepfather's house and peered over her shoulder at the sky. Wind whipped through the trees and angry clouds gathered, promising a wicked May storm. The air gave off a vibe of rowdy danger. Trepidation ran down her spine and goosebumps rose on her arms. Even as an adult, she disliked thunderstorms. The violent beauty and chaos unsettled her. She preferred things calm and safe. Stepping inside, she dropped her purse and keys on the vestibule's delicate antique table. After heaving the heavy door closed, she disengaged the alarm and headed for the kitchen, passing the circular stairway and the long trek through the house. Her T-strap sandals clicked along the marble floor and echoed off the walls. The sound was desolate and usually bothered her, but not today. Right now, her sole focus was getting that first cup of coffee. Striding through the high-arched entrance of the kitchen, Greta made a beeline for the coffee maker. After staring at it, she leaned against the counter and yawned, wishing she'd stayed the night instead of getting up early to make the drive. It's not like her mother would be home. They were out of town. That did fill her with guilt and frustration. Her attitude was ungrateful, but her mother's overbearingness was always chafed. She hoped after moving away to college, the dynamics between them would change, with no such luck. Whenever she visited during school breaks, her mother paraded her around to every social event, making sure everyone knew she was dating Blake, the most eligible bachelor. Then, after the breakup, she berated Greta privately for leaving Blake and insisting on giving him another chance. She might do it too, just out of pure exhaustion, not because she loved him or wanted him. That fear alone kept the visits brief and infrequent. I'm going to skip some of this. It's just a little bit of her background with Blake. But again, I want to make sure we get to the good part where they meet. The coffee machine dinged, bringing Greta to the present. She stifled a yawn and grabbed a mug. The delivery men were supposed to arrive around 10 to 1. The way things work, they probably won't turn up until 15 minutes after 1. Before the thought had even fully formed and finished, the eerie chime of the doorbell echoed through the silent house, startling her. So much for the theory of late arrivals. The bell rang seconds later. She set her empty cup on the counter and made her way back to the front door. "I'm coming," she called pointlessly. The trek from the kitchen to the front house wasn't a couple steps. No one would hear her. She reached for the enormous handle, and the bell chimed again. "Hold your horses," she muttered, yanking open the door. A reprimand hung from the tip of her tongue, and there it froze. A tall, hulking man stood before her. She wasn't frightened. No, she was mesmerized. A clap of thunder chased a strong gust of wind. It whipped around him as if trying to caress him with greedy, invisible hands, pushing midnight black hair from his face. He thrust a free hand through the wild, wavy locks, revealing stormy blue eyes. His gaze bored straight into her like he could read every single one of her thoughts and knew her deepest desires. Her heart skipped a beat and she tore his eyes from him. Not knowing where to look, her gaze skittered from his face to shoulders, taking in the light stubble on his strong jawline. Her focus rested briefly on a full, generous mouth before moving to his open collar. There was the barest hint of ink from a tattoo. She shifted back to his thick, disheveled hair and had to resist the urge to run her hands through his unruly locks. These unwelcome thoughts surprised her. He wasn't anything like the perfectly coiffed guys in her life. Yet she liked what she saw. Maybe that was because she was thinking of Blake, and this man was clearly his opposite. The guy cleared his throat, his Adam's apple fascinating her for a couple of beats before she made his way back to his stunning eyes. I'm Jacob Grimm from Careful Moves. Jacob, a strong, masculine name. It suited him. We're delivering a living room bouquet set and installing a Lumiere chandelier. He glanced at the clipboard, then back at her. Is this the Silverstone residence? Oh, yes. Sorry, come in. Greta stepped aside, hoping he didn't notice the heat creeping up his cheeks. Her cheeks. She had been gawking at him like an idiot. She probably thought she was crazy. Let me show you the room. The hallway was wide enough for them to walk side by side. Even as they moved past the double stairs, silence fell between them. Not uncomfortable, but it made her aware of his warmth and her unexplainable pull towards him. She studied him surreptitiously, noting his height. She was 5'10", yet her chin didn't reach his broad shoulders. Maybe I should stop sipping on this drink while I'm reading the story. My tongue keeps getting tangled. He had incredible biceps, muscular with a light dusting of hair. Ink peeked from his shirt sleeve, and she wondered if it was a continuation of the tattoo at his collar. She gave a mental shake. Why was he so fascinating? He wasn't her type at all. A delivery man. She didn't have anything against him. She just never noticed him before, at least not like this. Was it the brewing storm or the man himself giving the air an electric charge? Stopping at the threshold of the great room, she explained the layout her mother and stepfather wanted for the set, pointed to the light fixture they wanted removed and replaced with the antique chandelier Jacob was also delivering. The room was enormous, but he told her they'd need to take apart the double doors and possibly the frame. He asked where to put the old stuff, and she tried to remember what her parents had wanted it stored, but was finding it difficult to concentrate. Jacob was close, and all she could do was focus on how good he smelled. It took every single ounce of her willpower not to lean in and inhale him. A charged silence filled the room as her gaze drifted from his tantalizing neck to focus on his face. She was startled to find him studying her with more than a hint of polite curiosity. Sorry, he muttered hoarsely, breaking eye contact and moving back. I'm going to let the other men know we might need to break down the door frame before they begin unloading. He started for the hallway. As he moved away, she wondered about his apology. Was it for the close proximity or the brief heat she had seen flicker in his eyes? Either way, distance between them was a good thing. She breathed through her nose and let it out her mouth, running her fingertips along the V-neck of her sundress. Her mind's eye flashed to his hands taking the place of hers and dipping past the cotton neckline. Get a hold of yourself, Greta. Got some more time. She distanced herself from Jacob and her unsettling desires. Once in the kitchen, she leaned against the counter, letting relief and disappointment flow through her. She couldn't understand her sudden visceral reaction to a complete stranger. Shoving her agitation aside, she grabbed the mug she'd discarded earlier and poured herself a much-needed coffee while vowing to stay away from the movers, particularly the one with the sexy, volatile, hunger-filled eyes. Clutching the cup as if it was a life jacket keeping her safe from the treacherous waters during the approaching storm, she left the kitchen and kept her gaze locked straight ahead and away from the great room. Needing a quiet sanctuary, she climbed the main stairs to her stepfather's library. Books always had a calming effect on her. Gripping the railing, she slowed her pace, denying the urge to dash up the final steps like a child trying to outrun her messy emotions. Reaching the top, she crossed into her stepfather's overly masculine and stuffy room. She never cared for the leather furniture, dark paneling, or ostentatious desks. However, the papery smell of books was heaven on her frayed nerves. Running her fingertips along the nearest shelf, she picked up a couple different titles and sat on the couch. Settling into the supple leather cushion, she opened the book on the top pile and prepared to lose herself in it. She failed miserably. By 12, she quit, but had had enough of reading the same page over and over. Her mind kept wandering from the book to a particular man in the great room. I wish I had a little more time to read where basically she goes down and finds out he's getting ready to go out to lunch because he forgot his, and they decide to go out